are so busy, and we really esteem that. We recognize, we appreciate every single moment of time that you spend sharing this entire movement with. But I'm going to ask you to find the time sometime to watch The Hidden Dimension, and I mean watch the whole thing that is up. It's Nova Hunting the Hidden Dimension, and you'll do it through YouTube instead of going buying it. They'll sell it to you for $17, but it's in 3 different segments on YouTube. Hunting the Hidden Dimension, because the understanding, the comprehension of what fractals are is every single thing we're doing. Everything, not some things. So it's not going to be able for anybody to just from their intellect to do what is here. Uh, Wonderful feedback from so many of you on our seminar that we did on Saturday. We will do those at least once a month, and we may do them more frequently. Um, I'm going to make another comment about that, but I want to see that more come in. But let me go start. And again, I'm going to just go play. I'm going to go play the fractal, just a little video that is on the site where it talks about hunting the hidden dimensions. And the purpose of doing that is for us to understand all the mystery of what we're talking about here is inside this one clip. It's one clip. It's like a minute 25 seconds. But one of the issues, and we're moving forward, the programmers will start working on programming the new elements that we've talked about, the third dimension, the infinity pay fields. They will start programming that in based on their schedule by no later than Monday of next week. So we will see the speed by which they do that. That's not simple programming, but we're well on the way of going over and over and over, make sure they're comprehending what has to be done and how it's done. And so we're making real progress there. But we could not be here. You could not be seeing me. Your cell phone could not be working. The entire world that we're in today, as far as electronics are concerned, the entirety of that world would not be here except for Mandelbrot's discovery of the fractal geometry of nature. And the reason I keep playing that is I hope that as you listen, just listen with your heart open, not your intellect, your heart. Just listen to the words and understand that there was a discovery made by a man that is the first time that discovery had been made in the entirety of human history. And it was not based off of mathematics alone. And it was not based on mathematical formulas, because this man, as a young Jewish brilliant boy that happened to escape Hitler, just wonderful that he escaped, had people in his family that didn't. But when the instructors or teachers would put math formulas on the board, he could see the geometry of those formulas. He could see pictures. And then he gets hired with AT&T, who was trying to solve a huge problem that they had of so much interference. And they got a small group of scientists together, just wild thinkers, and said, you've got to come up with a solution to what's going on. Mandelbrot's the person who did it. And he did it by observing the fractal nature, the fractal geometry of nature. And then he makes this huge statement. And the reason I'm saying this is we've got a host of folks out there that are trying to comprehend what we're doing with this third dimension, infinity pay fields and cubes, and are trying to get it with their mathematical, logical, sequential mindset, and you will never get it that way, because that's not what fractals are. And what did he say? So he makes the statement, and as the fractal starts to be explained and starts to be implemented, then you have men like two huge mathematicians, and one says early, my God, of course, it's obvious. And I want to say, stop. It's not obvious, because you had never seen it, and nobody before you had ever seen it until Mandelbrot saw it. Nobody. Yes, it's obvious. I was talking to two people today, and I made this statement. When he says it's obvious, that's like a card trick. I've loved card tricks, okay, can do a few. But the amazing thing about a card trick is how all of its intrigue and all of its how in the world totally is gone the minute you know how the trick works. Oh, it's obvious. No, it's not obvious. Then you've got a world-class mathematician at the close of this that says the blinders came off. Who took them off? Mandelbrot. The blinders came off, and people began to see forms that were always there, but previously were invisible. World-class mathematician. And he's talking about somebody that looked at the world with geometry and not just numbers. Now, some of you are good at taking notes. Take this note. Geometry is a picture of what math looks like in action. Geometry is mathematical, but it's the picture of mathematics instead of what? The numbers. The numbers. So I can't drink out of this glass unless geometry is into play. There's nothing you see that's not geometry. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because there's nothing two-dimensional that works. And the math models of person-to-person marketing for 75 years have been what? Two-dimensional math models. And so we say, well, can you say this in a way that I can get it? Not if you keep looking at it on the basis of numbers. But I can tell you there's been explosions when people just get the way they feel when they understand what our objective is. Our objective is very simple. We want to enable people to make the most money in the shortest period of time with the fewest number of personally referred people. And I don't mean somebody that can go find two giants to put underneath them in a binary and then say, okay, I don't have to do any more ever again because I got two people, one on each side is going to make me the money. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what works from the bottom up for the average person. It's the average person making the most they've ever made with the fewest number of people. And it's the average person making the most money long-term on the largest number of people. And those two questions have never been even asked. And you can't answer them till you get to quantum supremacy and the third dimension. So we're going to come over that. Let's look at this little piece. Then we're going to talk about the wonderful thing that's happening with the man here. But let's look at this. I've talked and not brought you in. So let me do that. Thank you for everybody that's here. We really appreciate it. I'm going to give you a report on how well you're doing in just a minute. But let's watch this. Pay attention to every word. Just listen. Don't try to figure it out. Just listen.
You can find it in the rainforest, on the frontiers of medical research, in the movies, and it's all over the world of wireless communications. One of nature's biggest design secrets has finally been revealed.
My God, of course, it's obvious.
It's an odd-looking shape you may never have heard of, but it's everywhere around you. The jagged, repeating form called a fractal.
They're all over in biology. They're solutions that natural selection has come up with over and over and over again.
Fractals are in our lungs, kidneys, and blood vessels.
Flowers, plants, weather systems, the rhythms of the heart, the very essences of life.
But it took a maverick mathematician to figure out how they work.
I don't play with formulas, I play with pictures. And that is what I've been doing all my life.
His was a bold challenge to centuries-old assumptions about the various forms that nature takes.
The blinders came off, and people could see forms that were always there, but formerly were invisible.
Making the invisible visible, finding order in disorder. What mysteries can it help us unravel? Coming up next on Nova, hunting the hidden dimension.
Okay, now that's on the site. It's on your site. If you're a guest, it's on the site of whoever sent you to their site, and it's under the vision. And you go down, and then there's profound videos, and you click on there, and you can see it. It's absolutely wonderful. But again, I encourage you to find the time to watch the entirety of it, because the entirety unveils it, shows how it came forth, shows how it started being implemented in phones. And it is absolutely I think it's the biggest design secret. I don't think there's a bigger one, because what it really means is this, and it's very simple. It means that every single person, when you are one cell, there is a formula that's in there that is uniquely your cell and not mine. And that one cell doubles. And then that one cell doubles again. And then that one cell doubles again. And it's called fractal. It's the fractal formula, because the formula says you get the basic formula, and then you repeat it and double it up. You repeat it and double it up, and you repeat it and double it up, and you repeat it and double it up. And that's the very essence of what causes the frequencies in here to do what they do. They are quantum frequencies, and they are frequencies that are not batteries. They have nothing to do with mechanical energy that is created by man. These are holographic chips, which means, we covered this on Saturday, holograph means that the smallest dot in a picture contains the entirety of the picture. All you have to do is get electron microscope, and you can blow it up and you can see the whole. It's that simple. And so that's what enables this phone to do what it did, because when you can get it down so small that it still will magnify and do what it does, so that you've got the smallest chips. That's what Oracle was so incredible, saying, we're going to give you another chip, then we're going to give you another chip, then we're going to give you another chip. And every single one of them have more power. Why? Because they got more and more and more antennas into the chip, small as it could be. They got more and more and more and more, so it had more power, even though what? The chips got smaller. The paradox is the chips got smaller, they got more power. So I used to be one cell, but there's plenty, plenty, plenty of life and energy and the entirety of the organelles. Every single thing that was going to be this grown-up me, healthy, was inside that first cell. And then the second one becomes just like it. That's what fractal is. You say, what is the fractal formula? You put it into the computer. You ask the computer to make a picture of that formula, which is what that whole when you see that picture, it's called the Mandelbrot set. It's the first time he took the formula, put it in, and said to the computer, produce a picture. The picture that was produced means it doesn't matter how far you go down inside that picture, it self-replicates. It's the same thing coming at you. You think, well, no, this doesn't look at all like what was it. No, no. I look way beyond what I looked like when I was one cell. But it was all inside the one cell. That's fractal. So everything we're doing here, all the promise that this holds for changing our lives, impacting our lives in every way possible, is because of fractals. And fractals, we talked about paradigm shifts. We talked about the wiring inside your brain causes you to see the world the way you see it. And new paradigms are absolutely almost impossible by people to see if they hold on to the old paradigm. That's what's happening with a lot of you. You're trying to fit this third dimension into the old paradigm. It does not fit. It's not that formula. In order for there to be a glass that I could drink out of, the math had to move 3 different directions. It had to be measured 3 different ways. And that's the way it is every single thing in the universe. The math has to be moving 3 different directions. And the direction that of north and south is not the same as the direction of west, east and west. And it's not remotely the fractal of depth. How wide is this book? How long is this book? How wide is this book? How thick is this book? And you have to measure 3 different ways, or you can't produce a real book or a real glass. Okay, so that's just fundamental, and that's so huge about being able to say we are creating a massive paradigm shift, and there's actually 3 that are taking place that are overlapping. There's a paradigm shift about what's happening here. And every single day, I get to hear from somebody else that say, I'm absolutely astonished at what I began to experience so quickly and bring about significant change. The danger in me saying those words is it causes people to expect that if I put it on, it's going to happen the same way for everybody. Well, that depends on what our own physical condition is. It depends on the chemistry in our body. And I get to share that when I put it on, I didn't feel anything, but I instantly had 30 pounds more strength to exert on a pair of scales. Instantly. I didn't feel anything. And when I did it, I was surprised. There's other things that have taken place because I've been wearing this now about 3 months. There's other things that have taken place, but I didn't feel them taking place. They just took place. And I started observing some changes, but I'm an extremely healthy person, or have been for my 76 years. Healthy. 19 years old, I had a marital exam. I've had no other exams with the doctor except insurance exams, not health exams, insurance exams. So I've been really blessed, and I'm not the best poster child, as one of our guys says, if I get something out of this, I'll be your poster child, because I've got aches and pains and hurts all over. Heart attacks, I mean, he went through his list. Well, there's other people out here that are coming and giving those kinds of stories and those kinds of reports. So let me bring everybody in here. Good group here tonight. Appreciate everybody being here. And we're going to I'll bring you in and we'll start. I want to do a quick overview, because I know that there's always people here that just got here. They've not looked at anybody's site. They've not heard any discussion. And all of this, everything we're going to look at here is actually recorded, and it's available for you to go under the vision, and you can go see all of it and go through it really more thoroughly than I'm going to do tonight. But here's the place that we talk about the vision, and the vision includes the entirety of this. There are so many of us that have never lived our life remotely by vision. We think we have, but we've not. And so when we talk about the vision, we're talking about the whole. We're not talking about the part. This is a really critical part, this wonderful band and what's happening. But that's not the system. The system's the entirety of everything we're doing. I had so many people today that responded to the seminar on Saturday and saying they've never heard material like this before. They see why they have been blocked, locked, and are excited about being brought into a whole where we have a vision of how the heart works, which is how everything in life works. It doesn't work from the intellect, it works from the heart. And so that's part of it. That's part of the system. That's part of what we're doing. That's all here in the vision. The team is Dr. Alex Lloyd, Mike Flint, and myself. And the branding is about the name change that we've all been about. The science is there, the different resources that we'll be using to drive this. But the very essence for those of you that are new is to recognize that this quantum frequencies, the branding is all changing. You'll see it in the next couple of days. It's called the quantum supremacy. And quantum supremacy allows us to experience peak performance instantly, cell rejuvenation that begins instantly, and cell protection. And it doesn't take months or weeks or years, but it happens in a matter of seconds. And the essence of it is simply this. When we say quantum, we all have to recognize that if we're going to use the word quantum properly, we're talking about a photon of light. Quantum leap, nice phrase to say. It's a graphic change. In fact, you can look it up in Google and it'll say, well, it's this, or it's a name to this to express something that is taken. An exponential leap over a growth on a systematic basis or a much lower basis. Well, that's a good metaphor. But a quantum itself in reality is a photon of light. And all frequencies are photons. There are no frequencies that aren't photons. So energy produces quantum frequencies. The big question, though, is life exists at the quantum level or it doesn't exist at all, because life, health, and peace has got to be at the quantum level, at the smallest level in your being. In every single cell, at the quantum level inside those cells, there better be life, health, and power, or we already have problems in the system, and we all do. Functional magnetic resonance imaging reveals that we're 70 trillion cells, and every single cell has a frequency. That's going to get real important in just a minute. So the question for all of us is, what kind of frequencies are impacting your cells? Life, health, and power, the way God put it, all this life that's out there all day long, every day that we're exposed to, or what man is creating. Man-made negative frequencies sap our life and our health and our power. They do it all day long, every day, all of our lives. Our big problem is right here. Today I did research that will determine when to put it up. But scientists in Israel, as far back as 2008, started warning about the research that is showing that the technologies at that point that were in cell phone was causing cancer. And they also had extensive study on if you lived, get this, if you lived within a half mile of a set of these towers, that you were 8 times more likely to have cancer than people that were beyond that reach. 2008. So we're going to talk about 5G, but the fact of the matter is, this is people are also already being negatively impacted by the 4G and by Wi-Fi, and of course the cell phones who denied it, but they've got the research on it. So the EMFs robbing our cells' life, health, and power all day, every day, and it's getting worse because of the 5G. Now, it's amazing what people's perceptions are, and we're all human and we're all brilliant, and then we can all say some really crazy, dumb things, unenlightened things, foolish things. We had a couple of people today that said, why are you talking about 5G? It's not even here yet. And if they are not way out in the country and they're in a city, they've walked by 5G someplace in a city, you can't imagine how much has already been done. So it's not that somebody's sitting there waving. Here's where these signals are coming to you. They're totally invisible. And this is where we're going with this. We're going to a place that we're going to be overwhelmed by invisible tidal waves of negative frequencies. And every single day, physicians around the world and citizen group are raising up and saying, can you stop this? Can you stop this? Can you stop this until you can prove that it's absolutely safe? Well, the vested interests don't want to stop it. So our whole thing is to say, can we be protected from all of that? Somebody asked, how can you test this? Well, I'm going to show you in just a minute, the phase angle test. But the phase angle tests were in a building that has already got 5G. So we don't have to go stand right in the middle of something that says, here's a 5G tower. Let me see if I can stand right here and challenge this stuff head on. We don't have to do that, because you'll see the results came from a building and testing being done inside a building is 5G. So this just talks about the power. It's being able to hit golf balls farther. It's being able to have more energy for all of life. And we got people that are bearing testimony of that every single day. But the place that is really exciting is cell rejuvenation and the 5G protection, not just power. That's why we've changed the name from My Cell Armor, which is saying we're protecting from the 5G, when once 11 years of research and all this beautiful technology and the frequencies that God put in nature were harnessed and put in these chips, all of a sudden they discovered, wait a minute, there's something much more than stopping negative frequencies. Everybody has more power instantly, and everybody can see an improvement in the protection that they need against phones, or even that something's happened in their cells. So this is the number one piece of equipment, bioimpedance analysis. That's a fancy word to say this technology, quantum, by the way, 5 monitor, is being used by all the major forces in the world. This is the number one piece of equipment. And the test takes 15 seconds. You get a bloom and it goes boom through your system, 186,000 miles per second, gets a picture on what's the current phase of health of the 70 trillion cells in your body, crystallized, broken down into a single number. So this is what took place. Mike took a group of people in and did tests with them. And the first thing he did is find out what is the health, the phase of health that you're in right now when you come walking in this room. What is it? The next one was to say, okay, now let's take these same exact people and let's measure them when we put a cell phone in their hand or on their body, and every single person's cell life tested was lower instantly because a phone was turned on and being held in the hand or on the body. Oh my goodness, 15 seconds later, everybody scores lower. Then the critical question, would the quantum 3 technology make the cells impervious to these negative frequencies coming from the cell phone? And again, this is a cell phone, but it was in a building that's already 5G. Okay, so here's what happened. The cell phone is placed on top of the technology. In other words, the technology is laid on the person, and what we've got now is an immediate impact taking place inside the body. This battle doesn't put a shield around us on the outside. All the stabilization, the tuning, the taking the negative frequencies and lowering their impact takes place in the body and is instantly. So here's the picture again. You've got the cell phone, but now instead of just the cell phone, you got the band. And immediately everyone's score was higher than their original score they walked in the room with 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, in spite of the cell phone's negative frequencies. So you look at this, and this is the story, and this is mind-boggling. We'll show you one other thing, and then I'll come back and address a couple other issues, and then we'll see where there may be questions. These are the phase angle results of 14 participants tested. Mike, he talks about 15 because he was one, but this includes the 14 others. If you look on the left, you see the score of every person when they came in. That's what they carried in the room with them. One to the right, one step, is their score after you put a living a live cell phone and lay it on their chest. These people are laying down for this test. Just put it on the chest. Every single person's score on their phase angle went down immediately, because that's the power of negative frequencies going through the body at 186,000 miles per second. The negative frequencies don't move slower. They're photons. Then what happened? Then the technology was put on the chest, and the cell phone live was laid on top of the technology, and every single person's score went beyond, not here, beyond what they came in the room with. So everybody's score is instantly better. Cell rejuvenation has started taking place instantly with every single person, and some of these are pretty dramatic. 16% increase for this person, 10%, 14, 31, 36% instant increase. This is just off the chart. Now, let's talk about phase angle for just 1 minute. This man's going to come aboard, by the way. He's the doctor that did the test, but Dr. Zach Bush is considered the top expert in the country on phase angle. He says it's our best technique for a sense of biological age, not chronological. I can't change being 76 chronologically, but I had, and I don't even know if she'd be able to come in, a wonderful lady that said, I am starting to notice a difference in 2 weeks' time in the very feel of my baby skin. But she's not a baby. So it's like this is happening in an incredible way. Now, I want you to see what Dr. Zach Bush has. By the way, he has a product that he's selling to bring this about. It's called Restore. And he says it's based off of using the best kind of dirt, okay? So this is what his objective is. If we could get somebody from 5.6 phase angle to 6.4 over a 9-month period of time, they will reverse their age by 10 to 15 years biologically. We're talking about improving the population of 70 trillion cells in your body. He wants to do it over a 9-month period of time. Quantum 3 rejuvenation can do that much or more immediately. All you have to do is go back and look at some of the scores of the people that were there. There's some of the people that had the amount of increase that he's talking about and beyond, and they had it instantly. So we're just in a ground that has never been in before. This is doing things that nobody's ever seen or experienced before. I want to say one other thing, and then I'll see where there's questions just on the beauty of what's happening right here. I had a conversation with a wonderful man, and we have a vulnerability. The vulnerability is simply this. When you come to the site and you listen to some of these testimonials of an 86-year-old woman that within 3 days is only using her cane to go outside because there's snow in Canada, and has had wonderful results and is up cleaning her house like she'd not cleaned it in ages because of her own inability to function, because she's in major car wreck 14 years before, lots of broken bones and traction for a long period of time, and has never been restored. And all of a sudden, there's difference. And we hear other stories like that. Then there's not a few. We're getting many, many, many. Well, it gives the impression that that's what's supposed to happen to everybody. That if you've got anything wrong with you, this is supposed to go like this. It's different. It changes. We get asked about all kinds of sicknesses, diseases. That's why everybody needs to really understand the profound truth that nothing heals sickness and disease except the body's true healers. There's not anything that any doctor in the world can do that will cure cancer. What they hope to do is cut away, use chemotherapy, which kills all kinds of cells. You know, that chemotherapy is not, it's not selective, it's a killer. And so those are the aspects of what's taking place in the typical medical world. And I'm so grateful for what the medical profession can do, but not the things that they claim they can do that they can't. And they can't heal anything. An honest doctor will say, we've done all we can do. Let's see how the body does what it does. That's honest. Okay. So what's our vulnerability? That people think in terms. So, and I'm going to use a conversation, but I had this wonderful man. I love being able to talk to people, because when we can't talk and it's just in writing and somebody's got a question or they got an objection, then how do you talk? You can't do the kind of thing. It can't communicate heart. It can't communicate tone. It can't do it. So I got to talk to this wonderful man, and he said, I'm not getting the results. I've had it now several days. I'm not getting the results. What kind of results? Well, he talked about all the things that are wrong. Now, those of you that are really going to be a part of what we're doing need to really understand what I'm about to say to you. Because what I said to him, he said, I may just need to send it back. I said, well, you're welcome to send it back. But let me just tell you something. You have a choice of whether you're going to use this to combat the negative frequencies coming at you. I'm not talking about how fast you feel an ache and a pain, or sincere, how fast that. But you do have a choice of whether you're going to have negative frequencies coming to you. But if you send this back, you don't have a choice. So all these negative frequencies, if you're using a cell phone, you are adding to the deterioration of all your problems. Can't keep from it, because that's what this does. It compromises health, saps energy and strength. If you go to work in front of a computer, you can't keep from being exposed. If you live within a half a mile of a 4G tower, you can't keep it from happening. So that's the way we need to think in terms of this. The 5G preventative, had a couple people tell me today, I'm so excited about what's happening in my body, that's where I start. Well, that's where passion is a great place to start. But never, ever forget that the marketing site is the 5G solution, because everybody's being exposed to the bad stuff, and it's getting worse. So why don't you want to be protected from the bad stuff? I can't feel it. No. You can't feel the healing, and you can't feel the negative stuff, but you get the results of the negative stuff as it progresses over time. So let me just see here. There's question and answer. You can come in there. I'm not coming to raised hands right now, but if you type in questions, and I may come over there in just a minute. I'm believing that a good number of you, we have 111 people here right now, that a good number of you were in the session that we did on Saturday. And I need to say this about that. We had a great response, but there was too much. I was looking at my clock, and my clock is 12 o'clock, and I got so much into it, which is what happens when I talk about rediscovery of the heart. And I'm going, pushing to get to 12, and lo and behold, for you, I'm pushing to 1, depending on where that is. And so I went over, we'll get it, it'll get much more tighter. And the number of people that called me today and said, I can't believe what I'm already starting to experience and understand about how I work. It's wonderful. And that's the system. That's one of the paradigm shifts that's huge. Okay. So let me see. I have a question here. Michael, it's on the, you just go to, Michael's asking about the W9. You go, just send it to, at the bottom of the page, you will see admin at Quantum Nutritional Life. You can send it there. It is being posted. We'll have them up on the site itself soon. It may have even been done later today, but that's a good question. Okay. All right. How about other questions here? And I would love, I'm going to see if I can pick on somebody. And I know she may not want to be picked on, but let me just see. I'm just going to ask the question. I know that you're supposed to give women real preparation before you give them an invitation to come in and talk. So Linda, I mean, excuse me, I won't trap you, Linda. Lisa, I don't know if you could come on. I loved what you shared in the note to me, and I'm looking to see if I don't see Susan here. I may be going over it too fast. I'm going to tell you a story, and this ought to. She said, I'm going to use this with everybody that complains and is saying, well, I want this. We're in pre-launch, and pre-launch is exclusive for proactive people that understand pre-launch is about where you build things. And it means that there's a trail that has to be put together. And it means it's not all together like it's going to be. That's what pre-launch means. So I'm so glad, because we've got some really nice money being paid to people during pre-launch, and they were really glad too. But pre-launch is not for settlers. Settlers are people said, well, when it's totally safe, I want to go. So so let me come here, Dan. Dan, if you give me a number, Dan, Dan, there is on the site, if you go look, let me just tell you, I want to talk to Dan just a minute, who owns the gym. Mike Flint, who developed this whole thing, went into a cross-training facility here in Nashville. And that's on the site. I used to show it every single time. Everybody ought to look at it. But he went into a CrossFit training facility, and he went to a woman that was 28 years old, school teacher. She was doing power lifts, the Olympic event power lifts with 135 pounds. She weighed 135 pounds, and the most she had ever been able to do was 5. He put not these bands. The bands that we have right now are 50% more powerful than what he put on her. But he put two chips, one on each of the wrists, and she did 11 her first time that she had them on, and nothing happened except she put these on. She did 11. There's another man there. You can see it. There's videos of it. His name Bobby. Bobby was 250 pounds, and he was doing the NFL 220-pound bench press because, as you know, the NFL won't allow their guys to say how much can they do because they don't want to injure them. So it's how many 220 you can do, and they know they found that's the marker that you won't get hurt. But they expect their big 300-pound guys to be able to do at least 20. So Bobby's about 250 pounds. His highest bench press in a row was 15. Mike put the bands on him, and he did 24. So there is zero question of whether every single person will get positive results. Zero. It will happen. And that's what's happened. We have a dear friend, one person right now that is not seeing increased power. I don't know what that is. And so we'll see what's being done. His mom's trying some different ways to test, but there's no, I would say order. And most of you know that right now, till these bands, this says My Cell Armor. We're moving out this inventory. And when you purchase right now, you can purchase one, you'll get a free of the new ones that are coming. And if you purchase the bundle, which gives you 3 for $500, then you're going to get 3 more. So it's 2 for 1 during that period of time. And every day I'm being asked, how long is that going to last? We'd like for it to know 4 or 5 a week ahead of time. We can't tell you a week ahead of time because we don't know how fast it's going to go. I can tell you that at our current pace right now, we can make it through the next week. But I can't tell you we're going to stay at the current pace. Right now, this is one of the things I wanted to thank all of you that are really here, putting your paddle in. So far through today, well, let's just go this morning. At the end of 15 days, we were almost 3 times what we did for the whole month. I consider for you and building your group, if you get a 50% increase from the month before, that's really healthy growth. And if you just look and see what happens with that growth in 6 months, if you have a 50% increase every month. So that's my barometer. That's what I look for. So in the month of January, we came out of Christmas. We knew in Christmas that there wouldn't be much happening. We came out of January, and what we did in the month of January, we are almost right now 300% over. We'll finish the month without question over 300%, not 50%, 300% over what we did the first month, both in affiliates, new affiliates, and in bands. So I can't tell you how long the bands are going to last. I can tell you at the current pace, we can make it through next week, maybe some into the next. The inventory is going to have different colors of bands of what we got, mostly the black left, but there are a few of the other colors, no more of the slate, but it doesn't matter. The efficacy is not what this looks like on the outside. The efficacy in the frequencies on the inside. And when you're going to get the new one and get that for $0 out-of-pocket cost, $10 for shipping, and the same price will be on shipping for 3 or 1 because they're so light. So that's a wonderful thing that we're going to be able to do. So just try to take advantage of it when you can. One of my affiliates experienced shaking near 5G towers even with the band on. Well, we don't say live by a 5G tower. We're not saying it's blocking the full force of what that's all about. It's the basic life of where we live, okay? So I don't know more to say about that, and I don't know, were they shaking before? I mean, there's all kinds of human factors that come into play here. Tim's asking about the replay. Saturday night session, those sessions will never be replayed. They're too long, and the editing would just be way too much to do. What happens if the band gets wet? You should not get the bands wet. In the future, they will be fully waterproof. Right now, they're water resistant. So I know people that have showered and they've tested to see if they've affected with strength and all that stuff, and they've not been affected. But nobody should. I never wear this in the shower. Nobody should. Okay. So let me see another question here. Yeah, Linda's relating to the fact that we on Saturday we talked about watch over your hearts with all diligence because everything comes from there. Well, this little thing right here needs to be watched over with all diligence. Don't ever take it light because they're not easy to replace. We've got some that can be replaced, but they're basically come with this, and there's a few extra, and so we can get a few, but they're not where you can say, hey, can I go order the little part? So if you've lost one, let us know. We'll see what we can do about getting them replaced. But please, there's nothing in here that needs to be watched over more than that little clip. It's just not a good design, and we're redesigning them so that they will come with bands, but that's going to be in a future band. The design and all that's being done right now. So Lisa, I didn't see if you could Wayne, give me your phone number if you would, and I'll give you a call as quick as we get through. Okay. I'm just looking to see if Lisa's here. I want to tie you up more tonight, and I'll make sure that we get a couple of people in here that can do this. But let me tell you about what Susan shared that just blew me away. There's a man that has been involved here for, I think, about a week. He's 100 years old. He does not have a computer. He does not have a cell phone. And he's already put 10 people in business. So Susan says, guess what I'm going to say when somebody starts giving me excuses about why they can't do yet? They got to have this. Well, okay. There's 100-year-old man without a phone and a computer. He's got somebody that'll help him when he's got somebody else that's ready to go. Okay. Yeah. So Dan, I would suggest you really think about. You might think about the bundle, because the bundle would give you before it's over 6, 3 up front and then 6. But just whatever you're comfortable with. But there's no question but what people are going to be doing that. Athletes all over the place are going to be. Right now, we're dealing mostly with seniors. I love it. I love a movement that's starting with seniors. Seniors are what? Thriving, building income that they need, getting their passion back in their lives that they've never had. And it's just good. So appreciate everybody being here. We will be here, Lord willing, again tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I will get into the compensation issues more, because that is an issue that many of you want to know more about, to understand more about. Yeah. So everybody have a good night. Thank you for being here.